going to be like counters. Oh, counters are the most exciting of everything. So, it depends what your counters are made of. We all grew up, I am assuming, they come around. We all grew up with in situations where our counters were covered, right? That's how I grew up. That's how I'm sure most people grew up. Was their counters were covered when they were for Pesach. There was foil, there was cardboard, there was leaky plastic, whatever it is. That's how it always was. That is the safest way to prepare for Pesach. Today we've got a little more luxurious, so we are able to have counters that you can kasher. So what are the types of things you can kasher? Well, let's start the other way around. What are the things you cannot kasher? You cannot kasher china or porcelain. So there is a style to have porcelain countertops, right? Or maybe it's tiled with black countertops. Tiles are often porcelain. So if that's the case, you cannot kasher those as well. For mica and types of plastic, more complicated as well. You can really kasher them. Once you start moving into what's more common these days, which is when you start moving to stone, you move into granite, marble, and even quartz, which is like a complex stone, which is sort of resin between different parts of stone, they are fine to kasher. How do you kasher? So let's move into our kashering scene. Two things you need to do. Now, there's two options as it can go. One is the good old hot water poured onto the counter. This itself is very exciting because the water goes everywhere, and it requires really it's a two-person team because you really need to be pouring the water, and the water actually will land in the pool. The radius of the hot water is going to really be maybe 3-4 inches. So you'd have to really do like the lawnmower on the big football field, backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. I'm not going to use the hot water right now for the counters because it's going to get a little sticky. But what I do want to do is the other option, which is always the question that people have, and that is, can we use steamers? The answer is it depends. So not every steamer works. The steamer that I happen to get is this one. Again, this is not the only one. But one of the things that's important is that it raises the steam to 221 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 105 degrees Celsius. It needs to be above boiling point. Not all the steamers do this, and that's because a lot of the steamers are for clothes, right? And they want to have safety features. They don't want you burning your hands if you get too close to them. So that's not good enough. You need something which about a spout is putting out over boiling point steam, which means it's dangerous. Now, so what I do with this is, although I have a lot of attachments with this particular one is already boiled, right? It has a lot of pressure inside of it. I'm not putting any attachments, so the steam is coming out at the very nozzle. There are those who are concerned about steaming because number one, temperature is not high enough, and number two is it needs to be done through the process of water. Rabbi Feinstein says it needs to be that the process is through water. You'll see with this one that actually once you do it, there is a covering of water. Before I do it, I just want to explain one other detail. There's another complexity that most people don't know about counters, and that is it depends how your counters are used. Meaning, some people use their counters for direct contact. So I pull out a tray of schnitzel from the oven and I put it straight onto the counter, which is why a lot of people get particular types of substance for their countertops. If I'm going to do that and I'm having direct dry contact, that makes it more complicated to kasher. If my concern is not that, I always use trivets, I always use something, I have a cloth and I put my pot down, I put my tray down, and the only concern I have is maybe my noodle soup splashed onto the counter. Splashes can be cleaned with splashers or pouring boiling steam or boiling water onto the counter. When it comes to dry heat requires a higher level of dry heat. And that can only be achieved with not only irui, which is pouring the boiling water, whichever option, but also it's called an even milubenes, which means a heated stone. That in the old days, what a lot of people would do is on the oven, they would actually place stones, heat the stones up, and then while pouring the water, they'd place the stone on the counter. So I have dry heat at the boiling point and heated water. Dangerous and very hard to do. It is possible if you have a proper iron to do it as well at the same time. This iron is on right now, so let me show you the trick to doing this. Again, if you never use your counter without a trivet, it's not a problem. You just use the hot water. If you use your counter with heat direct contact, you would need to have both boiling water and you need to have an even milubenes for it to work as well. That's why many poskim say just cover your counters, because it is a little more complicated. Same thing works over here. My radius is going to be about 3 inches, so you go like this. You just go over here. So now it looks like over here. So now this is actually wet. What I'll do is like this. I'll just place this over here slowly. What it's doing is actually evaporating all the water. So it's bringing all the water back to boiling point as well, and that'll be sufficient. So what I've done is now I brought the water to boil. I've now actually put a directly heated substance. I'm not using the steam on my iron. That would be not sufficient. So I've got boiling point steam, then I take a Evermoon Benes or something which is like it, which is a hot item, and I go over the counters. This is not necessary if I'm not using my counters for direct heat. This is necessary in any case that I'm doing it as well. Again, a reminder, this is all taking place after 24 hours from a clean, which means in planning my kitchen out, I'm going to make sure I'm doing it clean, very carefully, especially along the cracks, which is where things get lodged. And also the seams in the counter. So I'm going to clean that out 24 hours, then hot water or steam. And if I need to have dry heat as well, I'll use it with some sort of type of Evermoon Benes option, which would be like that iron as well. Being very careful as you do this as well. Ironically, I think this is safer than the hot water because the hot water is oftentimes coming along the edges, which makes it a little harder to do as well. Okay, this is counters. Any questions? Yes. Phoebe.
How hot is the iron?
How hot is the iron? I don't recall how that. I put it onto my highest temperature.
The high. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I just put my yeah. I would say just ironically, I would say that the iron which is kept on its highest, I can feel it here. This iron which is on its highest temperature is going to remain hotter than a stone which is on the oven and cools down very dramatically. So I think this is actually ironically better. Some kasher organizations are hesitant, and the reason they're hesitant is because what you're doing is you're handing this to every person in their kitchen, and not everybody's going to do this properly. They'll just have their iron at half temperature, and they won't do it properly, and so one has to do this really carefully. But that's something which I just think most people are not aware of that do this. Another great feature is it also does evaporate most of the water as well. So because the water you could hear it when it was going as it goes as well. Okay.
I have a stupid question, but
yes. There's no stupid questions. Only great questions.
I don't put like things straight from the oven onto the counter, but like on Shabbos mode, it's not as hot, so it goes on. Does that still require the iron?
If it's going to be above, let's say 110 degrees Fahrenheit,
Okay.
and then that's already constituted. That's what's called the Yad Soleil. Once you have that, there's a concern of what's called direct contact with heat, and that can be extracted through direct contact with heat, not just the earring, which is the hot water. Okay, so it's the way it's going in is the way it's going out.